Hi, James.
Hey, Elliot. Hope you can hear me okay.
I can hear you fine.
Good to see you all.
Yes, good to see you too. And Tom, welcome in. Thank you very much for joining.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Very good. Good. I think we're just waiting for Laura, but I suppose I can just start by doing introductions. Here. Oh, Laura, you're here. Perfect. I will,
yeah. Hi.
I'll add you as a spotlight. There we go. Perfect. So why don't we just very, very briefly, one-liners, please, if you can, just go around the room and just introduce yourselves, starting with you, Tom.
Good morning or good afternoon. Is it still morning? I think just about. No, it's good afternoon. I'm Tom Dorr. I'm the head of education with the British Esports Association. I'm also the head of the education focus group of the Global Esports Federation, and I'm also still a teacher.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, James.
Good afternoon. My name is James Fraser-Murison. I'm the Director of Learning for the Creative Arts here at Queen Mary's College, and I was very fortunate enough to help write some of the units for the current BTEC Esports specification.
And last but not least, Laura, please.
Yeah, hi. My name's Laura Hall and I'm the Sector Manager for Business, Enterprise and Esports at Pearson. And I've been working with British Esports for the last 3 years, very close with Tom and also James, developing the BTEC and supporting the progression of that delivery.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to fire off some questions. This is more of a discussion panel, but feel free to jump in if you have something to add. I'll fire them individually if you don't mind. So James, what's it been like BTEC at QMC?
Busy in a very good, positive way. Just for a little bit of context, we started off with the esports enrichment a few years back as part of the BEA championships. And in terms of year-on-year student participation, including the current BTEC of esports that we're using now as well, we've gone from 30 students to 65 students to 155 students as of this term, hence why I look a lot older than I am. And that is in no small part due to the sheer excitement, enjoyment, contemporary nature of both the BTEC and the enrichment, and being able to link that in with contemporary study as well. So we've got some very happy students, I'm pleased to say.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant stuff. And Laura, tell me a little bit about how Pearson has found the delivery of the course to the UK as a whole.
Yeah, so obviously last year was the first year that the level 2 and 3 were both available for delivery. And due to various different circumstances, not least COVID thrown into the mix, but also, funding, etc., was being quite late. A lot of centres, weren't quite ready or confident enough to deliver last year, but those that did, we've seen a really exciting feedback from them. The work that we standards verified was really, in many places, excellent, and where it was slightly not quite right, it was just tiny minor things that were slightly misunderstood and very easily sorted out. So we've been really lucky to be able to have a lot of close contact with the centres that have been delivering it, because there weren't thousands, and so therefore we've been able to get some rich feedback from those centres about what support they need. We've been working really hard with our partners at British Esports and also our new SV team and trainers to help us to, keep going with that support and resource. So yeah, it's all great stuff.
Brilliant. Listen, I've just spotted a question coming into chat here, so I will try and answer them, or I'll try and ask them if I can, when I can. If not, there will be a Q&A sessions at the end of the morning. We're going to have, the morning half. We will have a little break later on. And then these panels will all split off into breakout rooms where you can ask more detailed questions if you want. Anyway, in the meantime, sorry, let's just go back to you, Tom. Tom, as a teacher, and I know you had a big part in writing the BTEC as well, are there elements that you find that may prove challenging to teach of the BTEC?
Sure, I think it depends on what your background is as a teacher. And I think this is one of the great things about the BTEC in itself, and the fact it's so cross-curricular in nature, from the business units to the sports-based units, to the creative media-based units, the esports-specific units. And so depending on where you're coming from, depends on whether and how your college is delivering it. If I'm perfectly honest, there are some colleges that there are a range of different teachers who are delivering this. So, for example, the business specialist will come and do the business unit. The sports teachers or sports teams will come and talk about coaching, performance, health, nutrition. Or there's the colleges that are delivering it just with one or two teachers. And so, of course, there are going to be the units where people sort of have to feel as though they're out of their comfort zone a little bit. It isn't what they'd normally teach. Whereas that's the work then that Pearson have done in creating training materials and training resources to help upskill teachers a little bit, has helped there. And James, and shout out to James, who's one of the trainers, and to Callum as well. Callum and Neil at Barnsley College, who are now working as trainers for Pearson to help train other teachers. What we shouldn't forget here is that actually we don't have to be the experts as teachers with this. We don't have to be the sage on stage, or, I am the expert, I have all the knowledge. We shouldn't be afraid as teachers to be more as facilitators, to show the young people the route that they can go down and help guide them on that route, and help give them the skills that they need to go out and find some of this information themselves if we're not comfortable with it purely as teachers. You need to be aware, or colleagues on this conference need to be aware, that we are developing digital resources along with Pearson at the moment. Hopefully by after Christmas, there should be digital resources available for units 1, 2, and 3 to use as both teaching materials and as resources for the students themselves. So it's something that we're looking at and developing all the time. So again, if there's feedback from colleagues out there as to what you'd like to see, then please do send that our way. Can I just mention as well, to pick up on what Laura said, I think we've got 160 centres now who have been approved by Pearson this year to teach this qualification. So even if those 160 don't take it up, and don't actually end up offering it, we should still have at least 70 or 80 different centres teaching this qualification this year, up from 15 last year. So we could have 1,500 or 2,000 students studying this BTEC qualification this year.
Wow, that's a really strong number. I didn't actually even realise it was so big. Incredible. Listen, I've got a question in the chat which I think is probably quite poignant for yourself, Laura, from Richard. Thank you. He says, one of the issues I have persuading our college to run the esports qualification is funding. Do Pearson have any clear ideas about when funding will run, especially in light of funding being withdrawn for so many courses due to T levels?
Yeah, well, the answer is no, but not yes. But what I would say about that is, as you probably know, funding is only ever secured on a yearly basis anyhow. 2024 is the earliest that any changes to this current BTEC is expected to happen, and there are no T levels in esports, and there are no A levels in esports, and I can't know or predict the future, but we're going through a process, and by the end of this year, we will have a much clearer. By the end of this annual year, Pearson will have a much clearer idea about where the government are going with specific subjects, and by the end of the academic year, that will be rolled out to centres.
Yeah, fantastic.
Action. Yeah,
I appreciate it. When you say annual year, do you mean 2021?
Yeah, so by
Yes,
Christmas.
perfect. Yeah, perfect. So James, just coming back to you then, if you don't mind. Having taught the BTEC now last year, what kind of engagement did you see from your students? Have any of them particularly shone? I'm not asking for names here, but have you got any examples of the kind of really...
All of them.
Bless you.
So again, just a little bit of context. We started off with the Cert Ed qualification, the single A level equivalent, if you will, last year, which was the 4 mandatory units. And this year we've introduced that again. We're also doing the extended diploma options as well, hence the numbers. I'll be honest, what I've found in the the 4 units over 2 years equivalent is that there are a lot more students in the course who are doing the BTEC alongside more traditional STEM subjects, which I found particularly refreshing. They do that as a third, or they do that as a fourth option, along with things such as physics or further maths, soft subjects. So that is really pleasing to be able to see that, because you're being able to have that conversation against stereotypes, particularly with students who parents who may have concerns. So 2 years ago, when we started that conversation, we had an awful lot of parents who would query the suitability or the necessity of this qualification. With each passing year, that is significantly lower, and that's in no small part down to the wonderful work that Pearson and BEA have done, and also the people who have sort of led from the front to allay said fears at a time where the industry is growing more popular and is getting a lot more recognition nationally and of course globally. What I've found from students as well, it's been a nice opportunity for students to work alongside staff in creating content and suitable lesson material. Now, arguably that should happen in all lessons, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But certainly, sort of to follow on from Tom's point, where there isn't an expert in the room, there are lots of very keen, enthusiastic staff and students, and together we are helping to kind of mold this very significant qualification. And on top of that, we are encouraging students to effectively prepare for industry, whether that includes esports at a degree level or a traditional degree, and also apprenticeships and also employment, where we are asking them to create almost a 2-year portfolio. And that's because we are aware of the significance of this industry, and we are working with the appropriate people to do that. And we're also encouraging students to submit work with YouTube or Discord, or being able to kind of review it over certain gameplay. It's just an exciting way to engage with students and submitting work, because that is in essence what we're preparing these students for at an employability level.
Thank you. So the BTEC itself is made up of a wide variety of different units and different modules. Tom, if you just want to break down for me, or for everybody here in the chat rather, the kind of things that you're expected to find within the BTEC, not just the esports specific stuff, but also the more business side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's critical to understand that, yes, we're preparing, there are the opportunities for young people to pursue careers or pursue further studies in esports specific areas. And so of the 20 different units in the BTEC, 6 or 7 of them are esports specific that we've written from scratch. However, then there's the other 13 units are made up of units that you will find, similar units you'll find in a range of other BTEC qualifications, enterprise and entrepreneurship, coaching, health and wellness, performance, psychology, computer networking, games design, use of social media, branding. All of these are, the theory behind these units is the theory behind these units, isn't it? Whether you're learning enterprise and entrepreneurial skills to work in retail or hospitality or travel, the core knowledge is the same. However, what we've then done is then tweak it to put it in an esports scenario and give it an esports background and give it an esports relevance. All then the coursework, the assignment briefs for each unit are then based around an esports scenario. For example, the enterprise and entrepreneurship unit. So the young people are learning about the skills to be an entrepreneur and how to write a business plan and how to write a financial strategic business plan if you were setting up a new enterprise. The assignment brief is then linking to creating an esports enterprise and coming up with their own idea for their own esports organization, which they then have to pitch in a Dragon's Den style environment to gain investment, exactly as if they were doing this in real life. So what we're doing is giving them the opportunity to create and develop a range of these skills, transferable skills that they can go on either into higher education or into the careers market. So it's critical that people understand that this is not, we're not just preparing young people to be gamers. That's the classic thing, in the same way that, if you're doing a BTEC in sport, for example, we're not training people to be a professional football or a professional rugby player. Yes, a very small percentage of those people might go on to do it. The same with the esports qualifications. Okay, we're preparing young people for a wider job market in the digital, creative, STEM-based industries, as well as the esports industry itself. So the esports BTEC very much is a vehicle for young people to develop a huge range of transferable skills.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Just quickly, I'm conscious of time here, and I'm trying to stick to schedule as best as we can today. Laura, could you just run through? I mean, I know you've been working very closely with Tom and James, so careful what you say here, but how has it been developing this qualification almost from scratch, working very closely with them as a person from Pearson Education who, creates BTECs regularly or has done in the past? But I mean, this one is a bit of a special case, right?
Yeah, it's definitely special. It grabbed my attention from the beginning. I have to admit that I have never and still have never played a game in my entire life. So don't shoot me down. But
you're safe here. This is a safe space.
Yeah. What happened was Tom approached Pearson, and because I'm in charge of business and enterprise, it kind of came my way. And I went through a process internally to Tom and Chester were really great at explaining what their direction of thought was, and it really aligned with Pearson's values and what we want to achieve for our students. That whole efficacy around the student courses and qualifications that we put together, and so therefore we were aligned from the beginning. It was a journey that we went on really closely together pre-COVID, which was great. Lots of thrashing out the ins and outs and what was really key for future skills, how diverse the curriculum would be, but how it would lend itself to sort of fairly large units where projects would be great for learners, and the skills development that they would have. So yeah, the partnership has been great, and from there, developing the resources to deliver the level 1 as well. So if you're looking at vocational studies at level 1, you can also pick up esports for the entire of all of the sizes of vocational studies. You could deliver it through esports. So that's really an exciting new product, is not quite the right word, but support package that we've put together for level 1 for this year, and also the level 2, giving variety to all of the different schools, that independent schools, AP schools, etc., as well as the state schools who want to be able to use esports, where although it's not on performance measures, will still be able to engage learners and hopefully support their wider study programme and Progress 8 subjects. So yeah, so it's been great, and we continue to work closely on the international piece as well as the UK. Yeah, so that's it really.
And I'm just praying that that's the same answer you'd give off air as well.
Yeah, of course.
So listen, last question then, James, if you don't mind. Obviously, you've been approved centre now for a year. Has this helped you at all with getting any funding, whether that's for kit or whether it's for the building, or how's that worked for you? Has that improved your situation?
So it's a question I get asked a lot on social media or in the trainings that I do. So we're very fortunate that we have the largest esports gaming arena at post-16 education in the UK, I think. Hence why we've got the 55 PCs. Now that came through a combination of, one, as I say, preparing for the qualification by launching the enrichment activities and thus gaining popularity. That gave me a bit of a more secure footing with senior management. It also allowed me to approach a whole load of companies, say HyperX, who are well established in the esports business world, and they are more than happy to help with the odd donation here, there, and everywhere. And I also use social media and the likes of LinkedIn to approach our LEP, our local education providers, to be able to secure a very significant grant for the building that we're able to kind of host our gaming sessions in.
Amazing.
So yeah, so the advice I would kind of give to anyone is go and see local employers. There are more obvious links than a lot of us would probably consider at the very beginning, and in terms of sort of aligning that with esports qualifications and championships. For every 10 emails I sent off asking for some help and guidance, 9 would always say no or not reply. So obviously it's a bit hard work, but you keep going. I've had an awful lot of support by Tom as well, who's that way on my screen, to be able to help me with kind of pointing me in the right direction of people who are also interested in the business perspective of esports, because ultimately it could be those businesses and companies that go on to employ some of our students as well. So I think perseverance and being able to see some obvious links with companies is a key message there.
Yeah, and I just want to mention that whilst that is a really, really good bit of advice, and thank you for sharing your story there, James, it doesn't mean that you have to go and secure a load of funding to get started. You know, if you are interested in playing esports at like day one, and that's where you're sitting at the moment, you know,
can I jump in there with an example?
Of course.
There was East Hampstead Park near Bracknell. There were 3 year 9s who were massively keen on Rocket League. They were the only 3 students who played. The IT department managed to find them 3 battered old laptops that would actually run the game, and they played from the back of the IT office on a Wednesday after school. And those 3 year 9 students ended up getting to the grand finals at the NEC in year 1 of the champs. So you've got that end of the spectrum right the way up to the facility that James has got. And Elliot's quite right. We don't want people getting scared off thinking you need to have a centre like James's to do this. James is incredibly lucky through his hard work and dedication, but the centre they've got is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And that is at the zenith of that's the peak of what you need or what you can do is what they've done. So yeah, you can start a lot smaller, and we've got lots of information about kit requirements and things like that around and about if you need that. So if you need that, please get in touch with Elliot and other members of the team, and we can help you with that.
Brilliant, thank you. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, but I am conscious of time. So thank you, Tom, thank you, Laura, and thank you, James, for coming on the panel with me today. I've got some really good stuff coming up, and I'm afraid I'm just going to have to rush through it a little bit because I want to keep to time.